Hello there, and welcome to a mining ship build video. This one's going to be with a difference. Normally we would use ships with mining drills on the front, or vehicles with mining drills on the front, and they have to be fully manually done. The issues with that is you can end up like crashing on the way down through a hole, having troubles trying to turn around and come back, plus the amount of time it actually takes to pilot the ship and manage basically every element of it, including returning back the ores to some sort of a base. So I figured I would build a little bit of a base on an Earth-like planet here. This is just like for show. It does work. We've got O2 generators, we have a little rest area, we also have a major storage area over here for hydrogen and ores. A little bit of battery storage on there. We have our survival kit over here. There is no hydrogen in this system at all at the moment. An ore detector, plenty of power supply, and our refineries over here. Now this is what we're talking about. So here I have a ground vehicle. Now this could easily be a air vehicle if you wanted to. The general concept is the same. We have a mobile platform that will enable us to move our mining rig around. However, rather than going along the lines of a static system that has, our overarching pipe, a ton of pistons pointing down, because that's very cumbersome, potentially invokes clang really badly, and also has a limit to how deep you can go, which is especially relevant when you're dealing with the vanilla ores, a QD mod, which can push ores down to like 1, 2, 3 kilometers deep. So instead of that, we have a connector over here with a small grid connector on the end. Don't ask me how I put that there. Well, basically we built some blocks up and placed it on top, then lowered the vehicle down to it. But we have a small grid connection here, and from this we can start building our ship. Now the idea being that our ship should be able to drop down into the ground, drill straight down by itself, keep going until it hits the required depth, and then start gathering the actual ore, and then return itself back once it's full. Connect back to the connector, dump everything into the cargo container, and then go back for another run. So that's what we're going to attempt to build this time. I'm not 100% certain how well that's going to go. But yeah, let's just see how we do. So first up, the main thing we need to consider is this is our main connection point into the system. So this has to be all conveyed up. So here we are going to need some sort of cargo container. Basically the ship's main purpose is to gather ores and fill its own cargo before returning back to here. So it's going to need to have a decent amount of cargo space. At least reasonable anyway. So what size cargo containers can we do? We can have a large one. Now this has small ports all the way around the outside and a large port at the bottom. So we're going to go along with that. So this large cargo container actually has an inventory size of 15,000 litres, which is about the same size as one of these cargo containers. So these are identical. So looking at that, to fill just these cargo containers on the back, you would need to have several trips with this one. And this cargo container will contain a hell of a lot more, so nearly 500,000 litres. So you're looking at a lot of trips back and forth. So we're going to need more than just this one. Now here's where we start to think, as we've got a large port on the bottom there, which could be good for a hydrogen thruster. But we want ports on all the sides, so I'm going to turn it around. Okay, pretty large. Now we've got this space here that I want to constrain myself to. We can do one more across the side, but we need room for other functionality in here. So I'm going to stick to this. Now we may revise this as we go because I haven't planned this in advance. This is literally just like on the fly. Okay, so we have our 3 cargo containers. That's the core of this build. It's going to need drills, and all the drills will need to point down. It's also going to need thrust. So we've got to consider little elements like, if we put drills on, is it going to drill around the whole area where the thrust is going to be? So we need to make sure that the thrust and the drills kind of overlap to a certain extent, don't get in each other's way at all. We're going to need drills, I know that much. We're also going to need a conveyor converter, which I believe I can access from this block. So let's see, there's a sorter converter. Oh, that's unusual. Ah, here we go. Slightly bugged, a bit weird, but hey. So let's have conveyor converters on these. Okay, that gives us a ton of ports here. Now, I know for a fact we want to put drills on these, so let's see, one port on there, and it takes up quite a bit of width. If they were spaced out a little better, I would have been able to put them in between here. We could have them on, yes. Put one there. Put one there. Do we think that would drill all the way down straight, or are we going to need something in between? Will a drill fit in the middle of that? Nope. Okay. So we're probably looking at needing conveyor frames in between these, so let's back up. I think we could go with a conveyor converter between these. And then our cargo containers can go big end on, like that. Okay, and let's try with our conveyor frames and our converters on the bottom. Boom. Boom. Okay. At some point we're going to need to put a hydrogen tank on this thing as well, so we have to consider that. It's not going to need a lot of hydrogen. The hydrogen is literally just to come back up. Bingo. Nice fit. That solves our drilling out the middle part problem. The challenge here is basically having drills to cover the entire surface area at the bottom of the ship so that it can go straight down without getting snagged, but also having room for thrust. Okay, so we put those across all of these. So here we have an array of drills, quite nicely spaced out. It's impossible to drill your own grid, so that's good. So let's think about battery placing. So that's primary functions. Let's put some hydrogen in here. Pop a pipe in between there. Okay. We're a little worried about this drill. Okay. So that handles that. Fully piped up. So we have batteries, we have hydrogen, we have cargo containers, we have drills. Everything is piped up completely. Okay, we need gyroscopes. The main reason for the gyroscopes, and it's, even though it's not going to be a pilotable thing, is to keep it straight. I'm putting all these facing the exact same direction so that if we ever needed to use a gyro override, it should be fine. Right, 4 of those should be more than enough. Now what we do is in the gyros, group them. And what we will do is we'll set when it's launched, we'll set override with zeros, and that should pretty much keep it level. Thinking about it, that's not necessary. 3 of those is nowhere near as good as 1 large. Now, because we have the converter frame on there, we probably have to convert back for the large. So we need to do another one of these. Bam. 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 I am wondering, actually. That is totally unnecessary. So is that. Yeah. This converter frame is doing the exact same thing as what the thruster's doing, providing a port on all sides. 1 there. 1 there. So next thing this needs, because at the moment this has the ability to drill straight down and then fly right up. Okay, let's just see what it does. I'm gonna save just in case. It's ejecting stone. So technically the cargo containers will never get full. Not with stone anyway. Unless it's, yeah, it's bringing it in quicker than they can eject, but... Now the question is when it tries to get back out, can it? Oh, okay, thrusters are kicked in. I think we can definitely say that didn't work. So that definitely didn't work. There were a few problems. It didn't want to come back. Now, that could just be down to me not fully understanding stuff. So, yeah. Right. So now I need to just double check a few things here. Right. Let's give this a go. Both pots are working. Is it too heavy? I wonder what would happen if I put large atmospheric thrusters in here instead. Okay. So a little bit of redesigning going on here to convert this for non-hydrogen. Right, so fingers crossed, this thing makes it down until the cargo containers get to about 80% full, or until it hits something that it can't spit out and then gets to 80% full. Then the AI blocks will kick in. The thrusters should hopefully be enough to get it out. I've got a feeling something was restricting the hydrogen thrusters. Maybe the tanks weren't enough. Definitely still too heavy. Again, we save. And we save a copy as 0.4 and see if we're a 0.4 candidate. Testing. Well, that's excellent. Although it did turn off the thrusters once it actually got in. Okay, so we should be good for another run. Let's see if we can make this loop this time. Yeah, it's that event. Keeps turning itself back on. Do you know what I'm going to do? That didn't turn off. And it didn't turn off the thrusters either. So the event connected ready to like connected. Ah, that's why. We can automate withdrawing all components. Sooner or later though, that drop's going to get too much. Yeah, it's pretty good. How do we stop it from coming down quite too heavy though? 1, 2, 3, 4. Dampness. That turns thrust off. When we're connected, when we're disconnected, we want to turn dampness on. Right, let's do one more test. So let's pull everything out of these. That was better. Much gentler drop. Oh, here we go. This is interesting. Okay, so we're back at the base and we're going to just recharge because all these testing we've literally run out of our batteries. So let's get everything onto recharge mode. In fact, let's get all the batteries on here into recharge mode because we're all dead completely. Every single battery on here is dead. And we should have plenty of power over here with all this generation. We're connected over here. Our beacon's still running. Now it's very important that we don't change the beacon's location once we've actually set these, because once we've set the waypoints, they are relative to the beacons. So if you're building something like this, make sure that you put the beacon somewhere you're going to keep it. I probably should have thought of somewhere else. Now, the changes we're going to make to this, because we're finding that basically it's getting too heavy immediately and it's just coming straight back up, and in the process it's also damaging a few thrusters. So these 2 thrusters got damaged. I've welded them back up since. Also, the gyroscopes don't seem to be doing the job, so I think what we need to do is probably add a few more gyroscopes just to keep things straight, because it keeps wanting to tilt over. That was possibly because of these thrusters getting damaged. So I'm going to have to put some protection on for these. But I'm also going to put some sorters in. So these drills, I think they need to have a conveyor sorter so that we can actually configure them with, well, basically we can have it so that whatever ore we want, we can set the sorter to pick that up. So I think it's going to be mostly a tear down of the bottom half of this and then a rebuild. Like I said, we're going to learn from our mistakes, and this is all part of the prototyping process. I mean, if we do this the right way and we use sorters so that we can't end up piling a load of like stone and ice into our cargo, then we don't need as many cargo containers because it'll be full with just the pure ore that we want. Now, the other thing to think about, I don't particularly want to, I'm going to just delete these because I'm thinking out loud here. I don't particularly want to end up in a situation where we have to set a lot of sorters each time we want to change the ore that we're going to drill. This has to be practical, so I'd like to be able to filter all of the ore through a single sorter, because the thing about the sorters is you can control them individually, but when you put them in a group, you can't actually access those advanced settings like what you're going to filter. So thinking about that very carefully here, what we need to do is we need to decide, right, how are we going to get the ores in, and we're going to route those through a single sorter into this cargo container. Also, if I make this taller rather than wider, we can get away with less drills, which means less weight. I think if we go with that type of sorter, and then underneath that we go with a conveyor converter, Now we've got all of these ports and they're all jammed through this large sorter which can carry the load into this one cargo container. So now what we can do, the space at the bottom can be for thrust, but drills wise, we don't really need a lot of drills actually. How many drills do we put on this? One would get this thing down, but then we need thrust around it. So what we might be better doing is putting one drill on each side. So 4 drills. Last time I think we had something like 12 or 8. Okay, that's 4 drills. Do we want to do them that low? I think we may want to do them a bit thruster wise. If we do that, then the thruster is going to stick out all over the place, I think. And it doesn't have a mounting point. Yeah, that thruster would literally just die there. Plus that lack of a mounting point is somewhat annoying. Because the mounting points on these is the top and these 2 sides.
Fuel critical.
How are we going to do this properly? We could use a hydrogen truss, but then we need to put a hydrogen tank back on and that's extra weight. It's an option people could use, but again, the problem we have with a hydrogen tank is that it causes issues with fuel running out if things get stuck or if you have any issues. And how's that disappeared again? Weird. Back to this. Okay, so what we're thinking about is having room for a large thruster, but we need to create some attachment points. We definitely don't want to. Let's see. I have no, can't do that. The thruster has to go on the bottom here. I mean, theoretically, you could build this in large grid. It's kind of good prototyping with these types of blocks because it gives you options. You can always deal with it later. Okay, and now if I put okay, and then if I put those in like that, it's a little less sleek, but oops. Okay, now they're a block lower down, which now means that goes in there quite nicely. Again, attachment points, so I need to start building some blocks around this. I put that like that. Clearly need thrust in every other direction. Okay, so we've got thrust up and in every other direction. We don't have thrust pointing down. We technically don't need it. However, tend to find that Grid AI doesn't like it if you don't put at least one there. So we're going to find somewhere to put that in a bit. Now we need batteries. Small reactor on small grid. Max output 500 kilowatts. Let's see what a battery would output. So it's 500. One of these can output maximum output 4 megawatts. Ooh. So I can put up 4 megawatts and that's 500 kilowatts. Just half a megawatt. So one of these is worth 8 of those. That's insane. Okay. So yeah, goodbye reactor idea. Okay, I need to know what these thrusters are going to require. So, okay, the large one needs 2.4 megawatts at max. Small ones need just over half a megawatt each. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 23, 24. Sheesh. And we're going to lose one of these on each side.
Fuel critical.
One there. Go with 4. Okay, that should be plenty of gyros. Right. So we're hovering. Let's start putting ores and stuff into here. Oh, here we go.
Fuel critical.
32,000, nearly full. Just really trying now. Okay, it can go in any other direction except for up. So we're just going to put an extra 4 on. Right.
Fuel critical.
Right. So we know that is going to handle max load now. Right, so we know that can fly now. We're on a single cargo container, but it won't fill up with anything we don't want it to, which is marvellous. Now, the next thing we need to consider is how do we stop these thrusters from getting banged up? And the simplest way, let's see, where's my wheels? We'll go with what we did before, so we're going to place a wheel in front of every at-risk thruster. On every side. Okay. This is good. I'm not going to do the same on the batteries, even though the batteries are like really need to be cared for. Don't like the idea of making this tube any wider than it really has to be. So perhaps, actually, yeah, there's a thought. We make the bottom slightly wider than the top. I think that's really important. Okay. Now we've still got space for event controllers and such in places. That's kind of what these ledges are providing. Right, that protects this thruster. It's time to dabble with styling before we've even built the damn thing, but honestly, why the hell not? Oh no, that is interesting. Okay, we're good there. Right, so we have our basic drill rig, which is fantastic. I'm going to save this as version 1.5. I was thinking about calling it version 2.0, but it's off the same foundation with the same build, and we didn't do this. It technically should be a version 0. something because it's kind of beta, but hey, you know. I don't like version 0. somethings. I'm just eyeing up where I've got so I can place event controllers and such. So, right. So we know that we're going to need an event controller for telling it to disconnect. So what to do once you're disconnected from the connector. We're going to need an event controller to tell it what to do when it's near a connector. Okay, so that's 2 event controllers. I don't think we don't need the altitude event controller or anything like that anymore, because we're going to let the sorter deal with like what goes into the cargo containers and what doesn't. An event controller for go home. So basically cargo full, go home. I think we need an event controller for batteries low, go home. And we need an event controller for launch. For the batteries low, what we'll do is we'll tell it to disable the launch until the batteries are no longer low. Right. So that's our event controllers that we'll need. I'm going to have to name them before I forget what they are. Right, that's what our event controllers are going to be. We are also going to need a move block. Now the front is here because of our remote. So move, front. This is a recorder task. We need that anyway. Move is there. Front. Now the recorder task needs to know that this is home. So AI recorder. Behaviors are off as recommended. Everything should be relative to the beacon. Mine truck home. Everything's going to be referencing that. Okay, waypoints. We're actually going to record a waypoint. So add waypoint. Waypoint 0. That is the only place it needs to go to. What I'm thinking is not to tell it to connect using this, because it can be a bit twitchy, because when it gets to the point and then tries to connect, if it doesn't, then it's not connected. So if we just have the event controller handle connecting, it should be absolutely fine. Just tell it, go there. That's all it needs to do. So we have our move. I'm just going to get rid of that number 2 because it's annoying. Right. Our behavior should be on. Precision mode should always be on. Collision avoidance can be off. Speed limit, slow. Align to peak gravity. Max pitch angle, we do not want to muck around with that. Don't want to allow it any more than like 5 degrees in any direction. This is why you need to put that one extra thruster going the other way. Just to keep the damn thing happy. Okay, so now we've got to set up our tasks. So, right, we'll start with what to do when you're near the connector. We are interested in minor connector. We are interested in the connector state. So connector ready to lock. I'll do that again. Okay. So when the connector is ready to lock, what do we want it to do? Well, what we want is for minor connector
Fuel critical.
to lock. That simple. That's all we need it to do. Straightforward. Now once it's connected, so we need to say connector connected. We're looking at the minor connector. Actions. What to do when it's connected, what to do once it's disconnected. This is quite important. So, the first thing to do is once it's connected, we need to turn off the event for connecting, because otherwise once you disconnect, that thing's going to get back in the way and reconnect you immediately. So once it's connected, we tell it to disconnect. The second thing we want to do, and each of these is another thing it will do when that condition is true. So we also want our thrusters, groups, auto minor thrust, off. So far, when it's connected, we're going to turn off the connection event to stop it from reconnecting every time it disconnects immediately. We're going to turn off the thrust to save on power and stop it wobbling around all over the place. So that's that. When it's disconnected, we also want to leave the thrust off. Now, actually, what I do want to do, was something we learned from last time.
Critical.
Is that enough blocks? That might get cooked off. That might get cooked off. I think we'll leave a bit of space around there to save our weight. Just in case. Oof. Actually, there's a point. Our move controller is going to get cooked off. I have to redo those. Yeah, good. Right. So what I was going to do, these thrusters here, these down thrusters. So that's down, 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 down. Are also going to be in a dampen group. So in the event connected, select actions. So thrusters off when connected, dampen thrust on when not connected. So the only thrusters that will kick in when it's dropping, just those 4. And that shouldn't be enough to keep the thing in the air. So I hope not. It should be enough to lower it gently. Right, we also want to tell the drills to come on. So connected, disconnected. Do you know what, I can put it there. Oh, actually no, we're going to do this in a separate group. Okay, drills need grouping. Boom. So this connected thing's going to do most of the work here. Right. Drills. When connected, off.
Energy critical.
When not connected, on. Because it's a toggle state, so it only applies when the connection or the disconnection happens, not any of the times in between. So even if we turn the drills off, like when it's in the hole, so tell it you're full, turn the drills off. At that point, this rule will not apply until you're reconnected to the connector again, and then you disconnect from the connector again. It's not a state sensor, it's a state change switch. That's the best way for me to describe that. So let's go over what we've got and see if we missed anything. So once connected, the connect rule turns off, so we don't end up reconnecting once we disconnect. The thrusters will turn off, but they'll turn on again when disconnected, but only the dampened thrusters will turn on. The drills will turn off when connected, and they will turn back on again when disconnected. Is there anything else we really need to do? Batteries. When connected, we're going to recharge. When disconnected, we're going to discharge. That's connection and disconnection done. We need battery rules for going home. Stored power. Okay, so that's all our batteries. So when stored power gets to, I'm going to say 20%, 20.5%, whatever, less than or equal to 20.5%, what I want it to do is to run like the whole go home thing. When the power is less than 20%, first thing we need to do is switch off anything that's using too much power. So we want to turn the drills off. We don't need to turn them back on. There'll be other rules to handle that, because when it disconnects back from the connector, it's going to turn them back on. Thrust, we can leave that on because we need to get back home. That's the main thing that we're doing here. So thrust we leave on. What we need to do is tell the recorder task at this point to play. Actually, first we need to just make sure that AI behavior is on. Actually, the block's on first. That AI behavior is on. And we turn to play. That should send it home. Okay, we need one more. Event controller. Event. Battery. Full. So at the point where event battery full, do we want to manually send it off again once the battery's filled up again? We need the ability to override this and turn it off. So when the battery's full,
Fuel critical.
see, the way I was thinking of doing it is the launch thing will be what you turn off in order to stop it from going anymore. But what I was also thinking is when the battery is full, start the launch again. So we would actually say disconnect the launch actually. Oh yeah, there's a point. Battery low, go home. Actions, we need to prevent it. From being able to relaunch itself. So we toggle that block off. Okay. Which means that when the battery's full, we then need to be able to turn the launch thing back on. And the launch thing would disconnect this connector and send it off again. But the last thing I want is for when the batteries are full, boom, it just drops the thing. Like when you're not ready. So we're going to need another way to turn these off. So we'll deal with that after. So it's fine. Right. So when battery's full, I need all these batteries here. Well, we're looking at cargo blocks there, so we need stored power. Add these blocks and gate. We're going to trigger to go home when any of the batteries get low, but we need all of the batteries full before we go again. So threshold, I'm going to say 99.5, 99%. Just simply because it could teeter at like 99.1, 99 and something and be using and, you know, all of that. So an equal greater to that. Actions, bank launch, toggle it back on. Let's do the go home, full go home. We'll come back down to the launch last because we don't want to accidentally set it off. So right, when cargo filled greater than say 95%,
No energy.
just because you get a bit of overshoot sometimes. We've only got one cargo container. Actions. Right, so it's the same as the other one. So the first thing we need to do to make sure our, where are we? AI, our recorder task is on. The behavior's on. Turn the drills off, because we don't want them wobbling the whole thing. Turn the thrusters on. AI move needs to be on. AI move behavior needs to be on. AI record a task. Play. That should send it home. Event launch. This is the last thing. Now, I don't want to set this off just yet. So, we need the means to control when this is on and off. So, we need to put a timer block somewhere on here. The entire point of the timer block is literally just to be able to, well, in this case, it's literally just to be able to group up a bunch of commands into one place. Right, so let's timer on, off, and what we want it to do, we don't want any delay. Right, it's going to be a toggle. It's basically going to be a toggle for a couple of event blocks. So the main one, launch, we want to be able to turn that on or off. But at the same time, we also want to turn off the where is it? Battery full rule. Battery full. Because that's the one that could turn this back on. And it's this one that we want to watch out for. That's our on off. Launch and full need to already be turned off. Right. Launch, basically the rule is when the cargo is empty, and it's got to be the right cargo container. Well, there you are. When the cargo is empty, minor connector, unlock. That's all it is. Let's save it. And just in case we get an autosave, we're going to go to version 1.6. Right. How are we on power in here? Full, 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 full. Everything's full. Marvelous.
No energy.
Let us disconnect, move on, and give this thing a test. The reason why I'm moving, I want to make sure that this whole rule regarding that beacon is actually fine. So I'm just going to find some ores. That looks like a good enough location for me. Now we need a button to turn it on. Big red button. I really like a big red button. I need to be able to see it when I press it. Timer. Click it now. It's both on and off. Right, save. Right, last little sanity check. Drills are connected. They are connected via a sorter. This sorter has not been configured. Eesh, that was nearly a close one. We don't need to do any draining or anything like that. We're just going to literally block until it comes through here. So, active filters, we're going to allow silicon because that's basically what we're looking for. In fact, if I put all the ores on here, so silicon ore, silver ore, silicon, silver, uranium, platinum, nickel, magnesium, iron, missing cobalt. There you go. Right, so we allow all them. I could have just blacklisted stone and ice, but you know. Do we bother putting the ejectors on to keep the stone out of the drills? I feel it could be a risk. I'm wondering if the drills will get filled up and then not be able to pull anything else. Right. But any stone and ice is just going to get spat straight back out of there, keeping the drills open. I think we blueprint this. That's Control, Shift and B to only blueprint the minor part itself. .6.1, just for the sake of making sure I can come back to this point. Right, let's give it a go. Fingers crossed. 3, 2, 1, launch. Ha. Oh, that was pointless. Oh, of course. That just turns it on. To actually launch it, I need to disconnect the connector for the first time because the cargo thing is not changing. So we'll do connector 2 because that's the one on the top of there. Unlock. 2-stage launch. Okay, great. Bam. That thing I said about having one of the tasks kicking in Didn't do its thing. Right, event connected. So we're not connected, it should be turning off the connect rule. Aha, but it is connected. And the connect rule should be... Oh, the connect rule's off. We need the connect rule to turn itself back on again once it's on the go home. Okay. Right. Okay. So it turns out those thrusters are a bit too powerful for that. They're enough to keep it up. Just have to balance that thrust just enough. There we go. Now, in an ideal world, it won't get broken on the way down. I hope. And it should come back with a cargo full of silicon. Maybe a little bit of stone. Well, no, there should be any stone. It should come back with a cargo full of silicon. I think the only time this wouldn't work is if your silicon deposit is not deep enough to fill a cargo container before it gets all the way through. It'd have to be a really thin sliver, which is another advantage of this being a small cargo. But it should at least drill its way down to it for you, save you the bother yourself. And it's quite narrow. Because unfortunately it's not able to right click mine because there is no option for right click mining without actually right clicking. The idea of this is you'd build this, set it, forget it, come back in a bit. Now, the truck part should have something that removes the ore from there upon connection. So you could use something like his inventory manager to do that. On a programmable block. But if you don't have access to programmable blocks, say you're on Xbox, then it would be a matter of just basically setting a refinery or a couple of refineries up, and the refinery should pull everything out of there. So what did we learn from our original attempt? Our original attempt, we made it too heavy, we made it wide, so we needed too many drills, which was offsetting the benefits of trying to make this a light drone. So having too many drills meant we needed extra thrusters, which meant we needed extra batteries, and it's kind of became a bit of a runaway. So the better format is a nice tall drone with just 4 drills, 1 large thruster and a bunch of small thrusters, 4 batteries. I think it's more stable in the hole this way because it's a uniform shape. It's not too much wobble going on, so it's not likely to come out sideways. We also learned that trying to do sorters to eject the stone that you don't need is inefficient because you're trying to get it out of the cargo container that you want to fill. It's better to eject the stone out of the drills and not allow it into the cargo container so that when you're monitoring your cargo ready for the go home rule, you're only monitoring on the ore you want to get. 105 meters down. It's not quite as quick as a right click drilling ship, but If this works reliably, it's hands off, so the main thing is you can be getting on with something else. Right, let's just check condition and see how we're going on. I might have to put some sort of an indicator light on this thing. It's a pretty uniform straight hole. It's basically gravity driven. Everything looks like it's in good nick. There's no broken armour, which means the thrusters should technically be intact. I suppose technically if we miss the ore, it just keep going until it either runs out of battery or runs out of ground. I suspect the battery would go first. Okay, we're at 131 meters now, which technically means we should be into the silicon. This is a bit of a risk because well, we haven't hit silicon yet. There's magnesium 300 meters down. I guess we missed the silicon. Yeah, it's over there.
Fuel critical.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to come back up to the top. Now this is an extreme situation because this thing's like 150 meters down right now. So I am going to tell the sorter to accept stone. And then it'll fill up and it should start coming back up. So first thing we want to do is we want to tell the small sorter actually no, I'll just turn that off. And the large sorter we're going to add stone to the list. In fact, all we have to do is flip that over to blacklist. And this thing should fill up pretty damn fast and start coming back. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. Put precision mode back on. Turn collision avoidance off. Ooh, I'm gonna have to get out of the way. It seems to have got stuck. And that could have been, yeah, task finished its job because it was stuck for too long. Okay, it's little things like that that overhang. We need to figure out how to stop it from getting stuck. It could be because of these wheel blocks that we've got in place. Okay, so back to before we launched it. This thing, it doesn't always drill dead straight. It kind of like wiggles a bit as it goes, and that is causing it to snag on the way up. So these things are not, as much as they might be protecting it, they're not actually helping it get back out of the hole. Right, this tells me I probably need to put some panels on the batteries. Nothing goes on this thing without having a good reason. not during the prototyping phase. Now the drills are virtually indestructible. The other way we could deal with it is we could put some upward facing drills that are not connected to anything, just so that there's the means to actually drill out the way up. But it's a bit of a risk because you're adding extra weight, because these drills have a fair bit of mass. Yeah, you see, that's kind of likely to cause its own trouble, I think. It's extremely likely to just sort of like snag on the way down. And I forgot to tell it where to go. It's not going to hit the magnesium because I forgot to move. Ah. It snagged on something. There. Okay. Up drills do not work. So I think we just go with the idea of having those plated up. And keeping it as slim as possible at the top. Right, so hopefully it should be enough. Right, so I'm thinking ideally this thing needs to be kept straight as possible. So I'm wondering if we put a couple of extra gyros in and we set them overrides. We leave these at 0, basically. It just keeps things straight. Keeps the current orientation. Okay. And we'll go back to 1.6. Right, now that this time, if I have to roll back to 1.6.1, I'm here, not like redoing all that stuff. So, toggle, launch. There's a bit of unevenness in the way it goes down. You know what? I forgot to move the vehicle again. Right, let's give this a go. On, launch. The sparking you're seeing is mostly little bits of armour collisions and the drills hitting the ground. See, now there's still these little bits sticking out around these areas here, so small amount of concern for it getting back out. Ideally, we really do need a right-click drill mode. So that it can create a larger hole. We might get lucky with that silicon deposit. We hit the silicon. So theoretically, this thing, any minute now, should get full and start wanting to come back. Okay, because the drill's got full. Cargo container won't. So at this point, to tell the small conveyor sorter, actually no, the large conveyor sorter, that we're going to accept anything. That should...
Fuel critical.
We can deal with the drills getting full problem shortly. Okay, what prevented you coming home? Okay, I think it's a mass problem, so... Drills are full. Right, okay. So... the drills plus the cargo container is too much.